GDP figures for the first quarter released by Stats SA came out worse than expected. It showed the economy contracted by 1.2%, down from a marginal growth of 0.4% in quarter 4 of 2015.
I think it's been a long time coming. You have to look back about 4 years. We had this, or even longer, 2008, 2009, we had this big interest rate stimulus across the world, big interest rate cutting, so-called quantitative easing globally, and a whole lot of monetary and government fiscal stimulus thrown at the recession back in 2008 and 9 to get the world out of recession. But that it worked up until about 2011 or so. But thereafter, everything started to stagnate again. Eventually that stimulus wears off, and what we're left with is a world with high levels of debt, household sectors, consumers highly indebted, governments highly indebted. And so as the stimulus across the world faded, the global economy its growth started to taper off. That affects us because we're such an open economy. And then more recently, 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, our interest rates started to rise as well. So our central bank, in other words, started to withdraw that stimulus. That has continued, has led to the economic growth slowdown since 2012, continuing into the early parts of this year. And it's basically just another step. It's been a long time coming, and now we've just gone from slightly positive growth to slightly negative growth.
Here's some advice from ordinary South Africans on how to cope during these tough economic times.
I think the obvious thing is to cut back on my debt. So I guess I'd consolidate all the debt that I have and make sure that I pay it off, because interest rates are bound to go up and repayments are bound to go up.
Working harder, doing more. If you got one job, ask for two. If you got a day job, ask for an evening job. If you don't work over weekends, work weekends.
No, basically it would be about, reducing in personal debts, shying away from, cutting down on social life a little bit. That entails, going out regularly, do some bit of more in-house cooking rather than buying all these takeaways and all that.
By cutting down cost on unnecessary stuff like entertainment, unnecessary clothes, and all those fancy materialistic things, and try to focus on more productive things like education and things that will make business plans growth economically as a whole country and youth.
I would like to emphasize on the employment. Instead of focusing on the government and putting blame on the government, we can do something ourselves, like empower each other as youth and create employment, be entrepreneurs, because there's no jobs. Why don't we create jobs for ourselves?
So we've heard from an expert and ordinary South Africans. A recession may be on the cards. What is certain, though, is that weaker growth is here to stay for quite some time. So buckle up, find out how to improve your revenue growth and reach within. Who knows, you might get in touch with an entrepreneur waiting to emerge. Nashina Mohammed for Joburg Today.